We'll be reading from Daniel chapter 4, verse 28 to 32. The book of Daniel. The book of Daniel chapter 4, from verse 28 to 32. We read the same book in the first service. I'll be concluding the message we started in the first service, titled Avoiding Spiritual Piracy. Avoiding Spiritual Piracy. Everybody say, I'm avoiding spiritual piracy. Daniel chapter 4, verse 28. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 29. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the royal palace of Babylon. He was taking a stroll around his empire. Verse 29 and verse 30. The king spoke and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling for my what? By my what? By my mighty power, for the honor of my majesty. He was impressed by his achievement and accomplishment, and he was giving glory to himself. Self-glorification. Is this not the great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power and for what? The honor of my majesty. Verse 31. While the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you. That's what happened on the altar now. I didn't know that's what we didn't plan the drama and what time. If you saw what happened, when they complained that marriage only shopping in Ikeja shopping, when I thought it's Paris, he said, yeah, bring that marriage, so you can bring the marriage. 15,000 naira salary job, ordinary 15,000. Maybe I bring the job. So, the word of the Lord, while the word was still in the king's mouth, he has not finished the word. A voice fell from heaven. King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you. Verse 32. And they drive, and what? They shall drive you from men. And your dwelling shall be with what? The beast of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen. You will join your classmates, oxen. Seven times, one says 7 years, it's actually 7 years, shall pass over you until you know the thing I've been trying to teach you, you refuse to learn. You will learn it in a hard way. That's what he's saying. Until you know what? That the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whoever he chose. Everything happening in your life, if not for God. If everything happening in my life, if not for God. God became very angry because the kingdom was done by God through him, and he removed God's label and put his label. Everywhere in the world, piracy is a serious offense. In fact, piracy is robbery. Is what? Is theft. Robbery of another person's handwork. You now say it's your own. Or you took somebody's handwork without his permission or without acknowledging the person. It's robbery. God is a jealous God. He likes to be acknowledged. He gets angry each time he's not acknowledged. So he got angry with the king Nebuchadnezzar. And after, like I said in the first service, after he had learned 7 years and learned the thing, in verse 34, can we have it? Verse 34. What he will have learned in a service like this. Jejely. He had to go for 7 years of hardship. He crawled out of the palace. King crawled. You will see what he said in verse 34. Can we have verse 34? Daniel 4:34. At the end of the time, that's the 7 years, he said, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me. So what God only took from him is his understanding, his reasoning. You don't appreciate that you know your name. They say, what's your name? You say, my name is David Adioye. You understand that that's your name. It's testimony. Huh? It's because your mind is still functioning. A king lost his mind. He forgot his king, Nebuchadnezzar. He crawled out. He stopped walking on his feet. He was crawling like an animal. He grew feathers, grew claws. He started eating grass. They said, King, it's not grass. He was acting like an animal. Because God took his mind. Just his reasoning. He didn't take too many things. Just one thing. He took it. And everything felt like a pack of cards. Thank God for my mind is still functioning. I've not lost my mind. You are not thankful to God. I said, thank God I have not lost my mind. There are people who went through half of what you went through. They lost their mind in it. You didn't lose your mind. Let me tell you, when people lose their mind, it doesn't matter their position again. If a old president loses his mind, he will misbehave. They started misbehaving. Now, the moment the mind of a man is taken from him, he's like an animal. What separates us from goats and dog and pigs is our ability to reason. Huh? Hello? What separates you and I, me, all of us here, from dogs, ordinary animal, is our ability to reason. When you were driving to church this morning, you saw a woman or a mad woman or a mad woman who was speaking things on the floor and putting it in his mouth. The only difference between you and that man is the ability to reason. He said, so you don't know that it's the creativity I gave you, the intelligence I gave you, the mind I gave you that will help you do the things you've done. Oh, it's you who did it. He said, my glory will I not share with any graven image. I'm a jealous God. He took the kingdom from him and drove him to the jungle. God will not take what he has given to you from you. You did not say amen. In Malachi chapter 2 verse 1 we read, he said, because you will not lay it to heart. He said, I will curse that blessing. He said, I've cursed it already. The moment you start acting like what you have is not enough, and you start grumbling over what you are attracting curse over what God has already blessed. Are you following me? I told you, we lost pregnancy almost every year. We're losing pregnancy. And this is what we've been believing God for. 14 months, 14 weeks of pregnancy, they will say they can't find heartbeat. There is no time we sat before the doctor, and they said that. And on our way home, either my wife or myself say, what kind of life? There was, because I understand the power of words. I understand the consequences of murmuring and grumbling. And I don't want to have part in the consequences of grumbling. God says, because you did not lay it to heart. He said, God has never spoken like that. Amen. That must be an angry God. He got angry. You won't see the anger of the Lord. And if you have seen the anger of the Lord because of your complaint, begin to receive mercy. I thought somebody would shout amen. So we said in first service, bless the Lord, O my soul, Psalm 103 verse 103, and forget not all of his benefits. Be deliberate to remember what God is doing in your life. Count your blessings. In fact, open a book. Start writing what God is doing for you, and you know how much God is blessing you. Are you hearing me? Is that important to write it down? Israel always creates something so that they can make that event a memorial one. The day they crossed the Red Sea, they didn't cross the Red Sea and forgot to. They took 12 stones, put it out, and wrote the name of each tribe of Israel, because they have 12 tribes in Israel. And they said, for a memorial. They told their children and children's children that one day God delivered us from the hand of the Egyptians and we crossed the Red Sea. If God didn't deliver us that day, we cannot be here, you cannot be here. Tell your children the story of your victory, so they will know that if not for that day, you can't be here, they too can't be here. Are you following what I'm saying? Write it down for a memorial. He said, forget not all of his benefits. All. When he was listing those benefits, it will shock you, things we do not even value. He said, you forgave all my sins. Is that not important to thank God for? We that were nobody, he turned to somebody. He said, he forgiveth all my sins. Deliver me from destructions. How many times? How many times? How many times have you been face to face with death, yet you came out? Everybody say, I will not forget. The business of second service, there are two major things. It's not just about forgetting. It's also that sometimes you have to be careful. You don't look at what God is doing in your life as ordinary things. Is it not just, that one says, is it not just 15,000? What you call just 15,000 now, by the time it's taken from you, you will ask for 15 kobo. You call it, is it not just ordinary 15,000? You have not been in a situation where all you need is just 1,000 naira.